without a doubt the creepiest mugshot I've ever seen. This is 33-year-old Solomon Galligan. He is an S offender that tried to kidnap a little boy from an elementary school in Colorado. This entire ordeal happened last Friday, and he went up to multiple children. Before police arrived, he tried to grab the young boy and flee, but that was unsuccessful.
That says trans S offender allegedly tried to abduct. Why do you mean allegedly? Did he do it or did he not?
So he just fled to begin with. He was later caught by police and charged with 1 count of kidnapping. As a result, the elementary school and the surrounding areas are increasing security and police presence. But bro, this mugshot is definitely the creepiest shit I've ever seen. There's not a single feeling of remorse or regret in those eyes. He's now being held on a $25,000 bond. He had a similar incident in 2012.
What you so ashy for, bro? Is he like Haitian? I mean, not trying to diss Haitian people, but remember that movie, The Serpent and the Rainbow, where they was like, and they blew like zombie dust on him? Something's happening.
And he failed to register as an offender. Now, luckily, the little boy that he tried to kidnap was unharmed. And this also happened while the kids were at recess. I'm not sure how this happened. I feel like when I was growing up in recess, all of the teachers would be watching us. But they definitely need to step up security. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comments.
Teachers wasn't watching because now they're trying to get a line on the young boys, which is insane.
Comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
This has to be one of the creepiest mugshots I've ever seen, and the story behind it is pretty disturbing. This is the man in the mugshot, Christopher Queen. At the time of his arrest, he was 48 years old and living in Pennsylvania. So on election day in 2018, Christopher entered a polling
a gay vampire. Oh, snap.
center in Pennsylvania planning on casting a vote. But when he arrived to vote, he was told that he couldn't because he wasn't registered. Poll workers who were working that day even stated that they heard Christopher mention that he was getting paid $100 to come vote, which obviously was not true. But when Christopher arrived, like I said before, he wasn't registered to vote in Washington County, the county he was in. When the workers told him that he couldn't vote, they noticed that Christopher began to shake uncontrollably and became filled with some sort of a rage. He then made the verbal threat that he was going to come back and shoot up the place, and after that, he was quickly put into handcuffs. I don't know the full story behind why he chose to exhibit this expression in his mugshot, but they caught him before he could enact any sort of violence, and yeah, he was arrested.
He looked like he is caught in the act. He's like, hey, I didn't do nothing. What you mean? Children? No, I didn't do that.
It's worth noting as well that in other news reports that surfaced after this threat was made, Christopher is seen smiling in the same type of manner. Luckily though, authorities were able to arrest Christopher and put him in custody that day before he could cause any violence.
This mugshot of a woman arrested by Fresno police is getting a lot of attention on the internet. Some have even offered to pay her bail because they find her attractive. But what's the story behind the picture? Police say she's a gang member and had a loaded gun when she was pulled over with her baby in the car. CBS 40.
That don't mean nothing. She was not finna do nothing with that gun. She is misunderstood, fellas, right? Let's take another look at her.
7's Matt Mendez joins us live at the Fresno County Jail. Matt, this is kind of an odd story. Can anyone just bail her out?
Well, Ken, anyone could bail her out as long as they had the money, but they'd be putting a lot on the line because if she does not appear for future court dates, then they could be forced to pay up to more than $150,000. Morella Ponce's mugshot has...
Morella, do you promise when I put this money up, babe, you promise you gonna go back to court? I believe you. Do you believe her, fellas? Look at the woman in her arms. Hell no, I don't believe her.
Has been turning heads on social media. Her neck heavily tattooed, showing the words, "Love is pain," and below that, "Pain is pleasure." Detectives arrested Ponce Monday. Gang officers pulled her over on East White near Fresno and Belmont.
What type of tarot card girl is this? Goodness gracious. Pain is pleasure.
Police say she had this gun, her baby, and 2 other gang members inside the car. She was booked into jail on a felony.
Possession of a loaded firearm within a vehicle, and again, she had her infant child with her.
Fresno police posted her photo to...
She was picking a baby up from her baby dad house. Come on now, you being too hard on this woman. And she had the bang bang because her baby father is a weird dude. She just went down the wrong path. when man, fellas, we make up excuses for pretty girls, right? If she was ugly, we'd be like, lock her up. She's a menace to society, Judge.
Facebook that's been shared close to 4,000 times, received dozens of comments, and more than 2,000 likes and reactions. Sotero wrote, "The only crime she committed was stealing my heart." Chanel wrote, "All about her looks and not about the child in the car or the fact she's a gang member carrying a gun with other gang members."
You heard her name? Her name was Chanel. She sounded like a LaQuisha type of girl. Quisha! Get out of here, man. Don't try to hate. I hate how ugly girls try to hate on beautiful women. Give her a chance. We don't know. We don't know. She might have had a hard life.
Another person offered to pay her bail. "We took the case to Vanguard Bail Bonds. Bondsman Charles Vang says there's a liability for the person who pays for the bail."
You have to know and you have to trust that person in jail, that he or she going to do the right thing.
He says,
This dude is from China. We can't believe him. We having problems with China, right? This is a misunderstanding, but you don't know that. Look at this face. That doesn't say gangbanger to me. This says misunderstood child of God.
if the inmate misses court, you could be stuck paying the entire bail amount. For Ponce, that's $155,000. CBS 47's legal analyst Charles McGill says her looks could help her in the court of law.
I think the rule of thumb is that judges do go more lenient on women, period, because of the bias, quite frankly.
La Noisette. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but my wife is fluent in French. She says that means the black one or something like that.
But there's a lot of female judges out there as well.
This comes 2 years after former Stockton inmate, now model Jeremy.
Right, women, now see, y'all wanted to get him out. You don't know whether he liked playing with kids or not, but actually, some women actually looked up his charge just to make sure you ain't gonna play with her kid, and she said, no, he's just in here for vagrancy. That aside, you can come stay at my house. And we're not mad at you for saying that, women. We're saying the same thing about the girl we just... Noisette is hazelnut in French. Okay, well, thanks for just calling her out, for just capping, making me think. She said it with a Parisian accent and everything, but she was totally wrong, no doubt. Anyway, you see how pretty women do us? It just be throwing us off. And these modern day men will say we're simping. No. That's not simping, young grasshopper. I'll explain what it is as we move further in the video.
Meek received nationwide attention for his looks. Social media experts say the public sometimes turns to...
That's not... Come on now. I mean, damn, they do look like they would be dating each other. But Noisette, she can have the dude or the girl, because Noisette probably got both genders coming at her. But let me get mon cher, petite, mon chéri. Because she's just misunderstood. She didn't mean to have the gun. She didn't mean to be with these other gangs. Those are her cousins. It's a family thing. Come on. Be a little understanding. What would Jesus do? Jesus he wouldn't do this. He would be understanding.
Social media for a way to cope.
We have this confluence of very serious events happening in our world and people looking for relief. And the internet is great for both providing tons of information, but relief from that.
And if convicted, she could spend about 10 years behind bars, according to our legal analyst. And Fresno police says they're loving all this attention to their Facebook page because they hope it'll help them solve other crimes and missing person cases. We're live downtown at the Fresno County Jail. Matt Mendez, CBS 47 Eyewitness News.
Matt, thank you for that fascinating story.
What was your mother's name?
Jane Mansfield.
Wait, Jane Mansfield is your mom?
She was a phenomenon, nothing less, of the 1950s and 60s. A difficult question, but an inevitable one. What happened on June 29th, 1966?
We were in a car accident.
This is the lady from SVU. She's another fly one. I don't know. See, my wife be sending me these clips. My wife knows pretty faces because she's a Barbie doll collector, like high-end 12-inch fashion dolls. and she likes to collect faces. So she'll put these clips together and send them to me. I mean, maybe that's why she was kind of drawn to La Noisette's face.
Then my mother passed away.
Where were you?
In the car.
That's it. Any recollection of it? Zero. You erased it.
Pretty much.
Do you retain any memories of your mother?
I do. I remember being in bed with her, and I remember having breakfast with her and sort of rubbing my head. And pretty much it.
Dime piece. Dime. Bro, you might be racist if you don't think this woman is attractive. You might be. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying check yourself. This woman is beautiful, and so is her daughter. Gone too soon.
You have to understand that when you go into the Appalachian Mountains, you are entering into another realm. And there is a set of unspoken rules that you must follow.
Sure.
Rule number 1, if you hear something calling your name, right, you didn't. There is nothing there. And you should not respond. Do not say hello. Do not say, who is it? Just run away. Because something is trying to gain permission. And by you acknowledging it, you are allowing it to come after you. If you hear screams in the mountains, right? You didn't. And do not go towards the direction of the screams to try and help. Because once again, something is trying to lure you. If you see people, you don't. If you hear crying, you're not hearing it. Do not respond to this at all because you are giving permission to whatever is in those woods to come after you.
Is the Appalachians the inner city? Because we already do this. I'm just trying to figure it out. Y'all got the same rules as the inner city, bro.
Now, if you are to go camping in the Appalachian Mountains, right, you have to remember, at night, you must keep a fire going at all times. And it's not for warmth, it's not for cooking, it's to keep you safe. And if you are going to camp in a tent, make sure when you go into that tent, it is sealed up. There are no holes, there are no cracks. And if you hear any kind of screaming, yelling, or anyone calling your name, do not respond. Do not go to sleep. And if something wakes you up, stay up, stay alert, and once again, do not respond. Now, it's very important when you are walking through the Appalachian Mountains, if you come across a deer carcass, do not touch it, do not stare at it, walk away, ignore it, because this is something, once again, trying to lure you into the woods. Now, if it comes to the point that something is chasing you and it gets you and there is no escape, fight as hard as you can, whether it's a person, an animal. If it's something else though, and you know what I'm talking about, well, you just let it get you, right? Because at that point there's nothing you can do. And there's an old saying, you go into the Appalachian Mountains with 2 bullets, right? You fire the first one at something that isn't a person, that isn't an animal, and if it doesn't run away, you know what to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Los Angeles, California, the heart of the Golden State where dreams come alive. From the bustling streets of downtown to the scenic views of Malibu, experience the magic of Los Angeles. Enjoy your journey in
It looks like a steak, right? But why? It's falling apart. Look how easy to come off. And I pulled out some meat, but look how perfectly cut. Why? They print it out? Since when you can put a finger in your meat and it falls apart? What the fuck is this?
Yes, meat glue is a real thing. This is it right here. It's transglutaminase and it's an enzyme that bonds proteins together. Chances of you having bought and eaten a steak that was held together by meat glue are very, very rare. This is a normal select steak from the grocery store, and this is a naturally occurring seam between muscles in the meat. But I'm gonna chop it into bits and then put it back together with meat glue to show you exactly how easy it is to spot. Meat glue is occasionally used in some processed meats, but they're literally processed meats. I'm going to chuck it in the fridge and show you what it looks like. Quick note on the mask. Meat glue is not toxic, it's just that it literally sticks bits of meat together, and we're made of bits of meat, so I'd rather not breathe it in. Instead of thinking about meat glue as a scary secret ingredient, think about how cool it would be in culinary use. You could stick 2 chicken breasts together to make an even portion. You could glue the bacon to the outside of a fillet so that it doesn't shrink away. And you could even make sausages without the casings.
This is why we as human beings, we have to be very careful. What she's saying sounds like she's probably lying, but she's attractive, so I want to believe her. People always say, who is the best liars, women or men? I say we lie about the same. The difference is men want to believe your lies because you're beautiful, and women don't want to believe your lies because whatever reason they don't. That's just what I think. And she's got one of those I'm lying faces. But I'm so beautiful, how could I be lying? Maybe that's just me. Let's keep going.
5 hours later. What I found funniest about that other video is when they said you couldn't even tell. So remember, this is supposed to look like a fillet or a steak. So even if you ignored the little air pocket, it's very, very clear that these are all separate bits of meat. And unlike connective tissue, there's nothing left behind that's binding them together. And the grain is running in a million different directions. If you're going to confuse this for a fillet,
look at that, look at the children playing. Look at that. Let's go see. Let's go investigate. An empty bus.
Alright, so what happened was he saw some shadows going in the bus. But I read in the comments of this clip that people was like, oh, it was just cars driving by, and you thought it was shadows inside you thought it was ghosts in the bus, but it wasn't.
An empty bus.
Look at that, look at the children playing.
Cars don't have hands unless we're dealing with Turbo Teen. And then when Turbo Teen turned into a car, his hands became the car. So, kind of got to watch out for these people on the internet. They're always skeptical, and not even because they don't believe it. They just want to argue with you. I don't like people like that. You just want to say no just for the sake of being argumentative.
Look at that.
So now you're telling me that there's an underground city below Los Angeles that's been there for God knows how long?
That's the thing. They're not telling you now. They've been telling us. We just wasn't listening. Too many people saying that ain't true. And we being like, yeah, you're probably right. I don't even listen to them people no more. Ever since I got into this genre, because all of us have been into the whole paranormal kind of, X-Files since we was kids. I think you're just like kind of born like that. You're on that wavelength, right? But when we try to explain that to people, they always look at us like and I'm speaking for myself, like we're crazy. You imagine, you didn't see no ghost. You cannot levitate stuff with your mind. Shut up. So when we see this stuff, and they've been telling us for years in movies and all of this in magazines and stuff like that, we can see it and we're like, yo, do you see that? We're telling our next door neighbor and they're like, man, get away from me. So no, they're not telling us now that there's an underground city. They've been telling us. It's just now you don't got no choice but to listen. That's all.
Called Subtropolis. I'm sorry, what? I've never heard of such a thing, but I just saw a video today and now my mind is blown because I've been obsessing over the fires and all the random information that I'm getting from people that live there, from the news, from TikTok. A lot of things in my mind don't add up with these fires. And I'm sure a lot
things haven't added up is what we're saying. You know what? That's why. Ain't it like hard when people act like, oh, I'm real, and you looking at them like, really? I've been with.
A lot of you agree with me. I've heard some theories, some a little way over here, but they also make sense. Some way over here, but those also make sense too. So just
listen how he telling on himself. And this is how most people who stumble across channels like the ones this is how they look at us. They more so are like, oh, it's way over here, but that's like way, now the fires are burning your house down and you got no choice but to listen. That's why I don't be feeling, so I be looking at these people like, whatever, bro. I ought to smack you, but let's just let reality smack you, dummy.
So there's an underground city, and the video, if you've seen the video, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, find the video now. It's called Subtropolis. But they keep it was giving Raiders of the Lost Ark vibe. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, you're going to find some deep, dark government secrets.
Raiders of the Lost Ark was a documentary. When we told you that, when the movie came out, you was like, you're just a kid. Fantasy land, whatever.
Find the video.
So I just found out about Drop 45 Lane. Did you know about this, you guys? Because I sure didn't. It's an archaeological site found at the Great Lakes. I didn't know this, but I guess the Great Lakes aren't super ancient. They're younger than Stonehenge, which means that humans were living and present in this region before these lakes even existed, and were also there while these lakes were actively forming, which is kind of nuts to think about. And before the lakes were formed, the area was kind of like this boggy tundra where humans hunted, lived, and traded across thousands of miles. The problem is, today, the land around the Great Lakes is so acidic that anything that ever existed more than 1,000 years ago has completely disintegrated by now. But inside these lakes, it's a different story. The water of the Great Lakes is like the ash in Pompeii. It preserves everything and keeps everything intact. So underwater archaeologists have found entire homes, tools, and hunting gear left untouched for millennia. 120 feet below Lake Huron's surface, and that site is called Drop 45 Lane. It shows evidence of some of the earliest humans to live in this area, but also opened up a whole can of worms and mystery about this place. For example, the first what the heck moment came from the artifacts themselves. A lot of these artifacts were rock tools like arrowheads and spears that were made out of different stones and obsidian. The thing is, the chemical composition of the volcanic glass that this obsidian is made from indicates that it's coming from a mountainous region in...
Well, hold on. Pardon me. I remember being taught in social studies class that the Bering Straits, where that is now, it's like ocean, but there was like land was there and people can just walk across from Asia into the Americas. I don't know when they stopped teaching that. Oh, shout out to the person from Fred in Alaska. Is it just me, or do you guys also remember being taught that in social studies class? Because that might explain why you're finding stuff older than Columbus, older than even, the Native Americans in the Americas around the Great Lakes. In fact, aren't the Inuits, aren't they just Native Americans? They're like a different strain. I don't want to call them a strain. I don't mean like that, but I mean, aren't they Native Americans? Don't Inuits have some Asian in their blood? Don't Native Americans have some Asian in their DNA? I remember being taught that in social studies class. It's like scientists and anthropologists have known that. Or I don't know, maybe not. Because they are rewriting history right in front of our very eyes.
Oregon, more than 2,500 miles away on the complete opposite side of the country, implying that there was a massive cross-country trade network more than 10,000 years ago. This alone made archaeologists scratch their head and raise a lot of questions about who these people were. Then it gets more intriguing. The reason why it's called the Drop 45 Drive Lane is because they literally found like this stone lane or driveway underneath the water. They found this stone-lined lane that the hunters would use to lure animals towards them. It was kind of like a trap. This was already a really exciting find to just see this formation, but then archaeologists got even more excited because then they realized where they had seen this before. Up until this point, this hunting technique was only found in the Arctic. So what was it doing all the way in North America? And then underwater archaeologists find this, what they are naming a Stonehenge-like structure under Lake Michigan. I think I'm gonna have to do a separate video on that.
Entire 7-day forecast moving forward. Wonder what that is right there. That's pretty interesting. Moving really fast. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got here. Just interesting stuff flying around the sky.
The reason I let this play was because in that last clip where she was talking about the Stonehenge-like structures under the water, maybe everything flooded. Not Noah type of flood, but just, maybe. I don't know. I can't articulate it the way I'm thinking of it, but those of you in the know what I'm trying to say.
Running through it.
The tides, right. The tides rose up like that. They, you know what I mean? The water elevation, you know what I mean? Maybe it was lower back then. Maybe not the poles shifted, but the ice caps like melted. Maybe there was more ice on the caps thousands of years ago. It melted, flooded out Lake Michigan. That's what made it become lake. Maybe it used to be a valley. I don't know.
Just water. Okay. I need to shut off the main water valve.
This was totally not done by HARP. This is just nature attacking humans because humans are evil. And how dare you evolve on this world that God sent you to because you got kicked out of the paradise. How dare you evolve and nature is attacked. This is not man-made. This is nature. Right, environmentalists? Okay. What is that? Whoa.
This is the reason why people have to lock their doors, cover their windows at night if they live in the Appalachian Mountains. I promise you, this is not some random intruder or like a neighbor that's at their door trying to get in. I'm fairly certain that what they are dealing with in this video is a mimic. They're extremely common, especially in the Appalachian Mountains, which is where this video was filmed. And mimics will disguise themselves as people you know or people that they think you know, and they will mimic their voices and try to get you to let them in your home. Sometimes this manifests as pets, like you'll hear your dog barking upstairs, but you know your spouse just took them out on a walk. Or your mom is at the grocery store and you hear her calling your name from downstairs. This woman explains that she doesn't think she knows this person. She lives on a large gated, fenced-off farm with no surrounding neighbors. So who's knocking at her door? It's typically a voice, but oftentimes skinwalkers will change forms in order to try to get in your home. Do you believe in this urban legend? Come over here for more freaky stuff.
I learned a lot about women. I think I learned exactly how the fall of man occurred in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, and Adam said one day, "Wow, Eve, here we are at one with nature, at one with God. We'll never age, we'll never die. And all our dreams come true the instant that we have them." And Eve said, "Yeah, it's just not enough, is it?"
It's funny, a Muslim friend of mine said, because I said to him when he was reading something to me, I said, "Why does your book don't never mention women?" You know, because I'm a Christian at this time. I'm like, why your book don't never mention women? The Bible talks about women. Probably the most famous woman in the Bible is Jesus' mom. And he said, because God knows how he made his creation. And he didn't make the woman so that she would be satisfied, so that she would be a test to man. At the time, I was like, really? But I was in like 8th grade. So, do with that what you will.
Remember, mercury is a living substance. This is just like water. And red mercury, when you put it in front of a mirror, you won't see the reflection. If you take mercury and you spin it in a circle like this, you create voltage. This is what, when you look at the old world buildings, the cathedrals, they had these orbs up on top of these cathedrals. Those orbs can contain mercury, and they're brass on the outside or gold on the outside. They're iron on the inside, and they got mercury in the center. And what would happen is if a lightning strikes or the bell would ring, you would get a spiral which would take place, and you got free electricity simply by just a little bit of mercury. Now, mercury in the mouth is a different story. What about red mercury? That's a great one. So red mercury is mercury mixed with iron oxide. Remember, mercury is a living substance. That's what it is. It's just like water. So when you mix mercury with iron, it'll actually put it together. It won't eat it, but it will put it together. And that's where the whole red mercury comes from. And red mercury, when you put it in front of a mirror, you won't see the reflection, which is really fascinating. It's invisible, is what's really cool. Now, if you take mercury and mix it with other metals, it will begin to eat them, because it's a living substance.
For people, why is it when you all find out that the real Hebrew Israelites are dark-skinned, you all claim that it doesn't matter? And why is it when the true Hebrew Israelites start to educate others about the truth of our identity that was stolen from us and exposing the lies that have been taught and passed down for centuries, you start to flip the script and claim that we are somehow focused on race and causing division? Why do you westernized Christians, when we explain to you that we are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade and are in fact the real tribe of Judah, the true Jews, and that the Ashkenazi Jews are in fact the synagogue of Satan referred to in Revelations 2:9, you all proceed to tell us we are no longer God's chosen people, and that now the church is the chosen people and have replaced the true bloodline? Is it because your hidden racism that lies behind peace and fake equality when you state there is no Gentile or Jew in Christ? Is it your fake Christianity and religion that was built on lies and persecution and the enslavement of my people? The reason...
Okay, that's what I'm saying, Tommy Play. What are you talking about, shorty? You need a climax. Not from no toy. You need a man talking to you, hugging you, giving you attention, telling you that you look beautiful, like mentoring you, molding you, just, you know, like kind of being like a big brother, an older like uncle, cousin kind of. You need that. Because at first I was following you, but now it's getting into like, what is... I do know that Ethiopia, them being Christians, goes all the way back, like thousands of years. That's been anthropologically proven, like scientists know that. I don't know, maybe she's a Trean, but I know the Ethiopians were freaking Christian for like thousands of years. Like the Ethiopians actually saved the Muslims. Yes, the Muslims were about to be destroyed, but then the Ethiopian king, I think his name was King Negus. Yes, it sounds like what you're thinking of, but that was his name, King Negus or something like that. And the Muslims was about to be exterminated, but he saved them because they knew about the teachings of Jesus. And the king was like, well, how do you know that? How do you know that? Because it was like between Jesus dying and the Muslims, that whole thing formed, that was like 600 years. Look how times have changed in just 100 years, from 1930 to almost 2030. Women were not as angry as this girl is 100 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So imagine 600 years passing. So when the Muslims was like, yo, we need refuge because we're going to be destroyed, and the king was questioning them, they knew too much stuff about Christianity. So he gave them shelter in his kingdom. I'm saying that to say, if this lady is talking about us and we, and I'm only like putting that together if she's an Ethiopian, because I know for a fact, and scientists know, Ethiopians are historically Christian for thousands of years, and they saved the Muslims from being totally wiped out. You can do your research on that if you don't believe me.
Why you continue to reject the truth? Or is it due to your indoctrination that has entrapped you so much so that you have cognitive dissonance when you are given the truth? See, the truth is this: lies do matter. Lies matter because we know that the Bible declares that the truth will make you free.
Cynthia Erivo just announced she is playing the role of Jesus Christ in Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood.
Hold on. Wow. See, shout out to everyone who likes what my wife does on this channel. She be putting these clips together, even for the women who be like, why are you showing all of these? My wife, listen, women know what a pretty face looks like. Women appreciate a beautiful, women who are confident and don't be hating, they appreciate that. And she be sending me these clips to say, yo, react to this. Yo, I want you to do your thing to this. Yo, and it's just crazy that she put this clip after. It's like she knows me and how I would probably respond. You know, like your husband probably knows you. He knows he can put you in a certain situation and you'll respond a certain way. So it's like when your husband wants to pull a prank on you and they want to film it, he'll set it up and say, put her in this type of situation. I want to see it. But he kind of already know how you're going to react. He just wants it to be filmed so they can get on TV. That's kind of what my wife did. It's just crazy that she put this. It's kind of exclusive. Let me like kind of put it back. I don't think she expected me to like give her props like that, but let's go.
We know that the Bible declares that the truth will make you free.
Cynthia Erivo just announced she is playing the role of Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl in her return to Broadway. Now, I thought this was fake at first. I couldn't believe it, but this is confirmed by many sources. If you don't know who this actor is, she played the role of the witch in Wicked, one of the biggest movies out, which makes her one of the most trending actors right now. So a lot of people are going to be watching this. As a Christian, I find this very disrespectful. Why? Because this is our Lord and Savior. This isn't some cult.
I find it very disrespectful too, because oh God, these guys are going to try to say I'm talking too much. Okay. DEI means gay. It doesn't mean inclusion and all. It doesn't mean black. The powers that be have just put black skin on their agenda because black people make things cool. That's just, all of this stuff that people do within the hip hop, all this, but that stuff is not cool. But it's been made to seem cool with help from the powers that be. Okay, so I'm saying that to say DEI was always about bringing in LGBT. It was always about that. The Wire was not a good show. So when Obama said, Omar's my favorite character, it wasn't about the inner city and this guy from the suburbs saying how much he likes that show. It was about LGBTQ. And what's that guy's name that played Omar? He was a straight guy. But as an actor, you want your money. They're not going to hire you. So you kind of like will play whatever role they present to you, especially if the cash is good enough. I'm not faulting him for that. I'm saying it's a bait and switch. These Hollywood people who do the movies, they bait and switch on purpose. So now when people start talking about that's the kind of stuff I have to talk about with my members, but some of you get it. I'm not with this racism stuff. It's corny, but they're putting this black woman on the face of Jesus Christ to make the gender swapping of Jesus or any person from the Bible okay. You're going to be like, why shouldn't we do that? Why shouldn't we? We should. And you have the racism force field, if you will, the DEI force field, so people can gaslight you and say, oh, it has nothing to do with Jesus. You just don't like black people. And making her play Jesus has nothing to do with black people. It has everything to do with Sodom and Gomorrah. And they like that. And that's a part of their rituals in order for you to be successful in Hollywood. Like, if there is no God, why do I got to worship the devil to get a record deal? To be popular. You can get a record deal, but they don't have to sell your music. If there is no God, why do I got to do all these satanic rituals? What are they all on TV for? You know what I mean? All right, sorry. Let's just go.
Political or movie icon that you can mold and change into anyone you want for some industry entertainment.
Yes, what Mika said, they want you to accept homosexuality as a norm, but they don't want you to accept a man and multiple wives, not concubines. These are women that he has to protect them. Like, me and my wife are arguing now. I can't, but it don't, like, if you was here, it wouldn't even seem like an argument. But that's because I gotta be like this dude on television that women want to be with, who is the guy who, he's stoic. He doesn't show that he's upset. He's even tempered, even keeled. And it's difficult for us men to just be like that off the rip unless we practice. And if the father wasn't in the house, it's even harder for us to learn it, into old age. Like my son, he's 19. He's got my example, but then now he also has practice for the woman he ultimately marries. He can't just be yelling at her. She's gonna do something that you don't like. You can't do that, bruh. You can't. And I'm not gonna condemn. No, you can't do that. And I've been talking to him like that. You can't talk to her like that. You can't do that to her. You can't. You don't want to see what's going to happen if you do that. So we have to be like that as men. If we get the father out of the house, that's step one. Step two, now we can manipulate the woman into doing whatever we want her to do. Step three, now we can make the kid okay with homosexuality. Because I remember they used to tell us in the 90s, you was born like that. Now they're telling the kids in school, no, you can choose. So which one is it? And they never said, well, we've done research and we've come to the conclusion that you can choose. Just one day they just switched and said, nope, you can choose. You know what I'm saying? So nobody has a problem with you with your sexuality. Nobody cares because I'm not having sex with you. Why is there such a push for my kids to know that they can switch if they want to? Matter of fact, you should switch because you really want to. Why is there that push if there was no God?
Agenda. I'm not here to spread hate, but whenever there's a religious movie of any kind, I believe that the religious figures should be represented very accurately. This is something that should be studied. This isn't something, like I said, that is just molded into whatever they want. Again, I'm just here to stand up for what I believe in. These are my thoughts, and I think this is wrong. Let me know what you guys think about this, but absolutely wild.
I don't know. Does she want me to I don't know, it's a lot of flooding and this is kind of what we pray doesn't happen to us and our families. But then if it does, do we know how to handle this? What about the families that are broken up? Women, who do you have to protect you in this? Men too. This is a hardship. Men, how do you protect your family in this type of situation? I know you're not supposed to worry as a Christian. This is something I be thinking about. Man, what am I going to do? What's our evacuation plan? This is not the type of stuff that we was even seeing in the 80s and 90s. And it's only going to get worse.
Last night, Donald Trump granted me a full pardon. I was doing life without parole, and I was locked up for more than 11 years. This is an important moment for everybody, everywhere, who loves freedom and who cares about second chances. And I look forward to re-engaging with the free world. So once I'm feeling up to it, we'll talk again.
Learning the secrets of ancient China is realizing they have more pyramids than anywhere in the world. More than Egypt, they might even have the biggest one in history, dwarfing both Giza and the infamous Bosnian pyramid. This is going to shatter your entire view of history. Found just outside the city of Xi'an in China's Shaanxi province are hundreds of pyramids dating back thousands of years old. And on record, pretty much all of them are unexplored to preserve their history. First brought to light in 1912 when American traders Fred Meyer Schroeder and Oscar Mammon were traveling across China when they met a Taoist priest along the route who told them about 7 previously unknown pyramids they decided to check out. In his diary, Schroeder wrote about a group of pyramids they saw in the Xi'an region that towered between villages and farmlands, some even in the forest. He documented everything, noting a particularly enormous one that he claimed to be at least 1,000 feet in height, possibly higher. For the record, the tallest official pyramid in the world is the Great Pyramid of Giza at 450 feet. The tallest unofficial one, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, at 720 feet, which will definitely trigger the Google debunkers. This one in China was allegedly more than twice the height of Giza, which is just unimaginable. It was a mystery for quite a while, thought to be a hoax or a grand miscalculation. But then, in 1945, U.S. Air Corps pilot James Gossman makes an interesting observation. He was flying from China to India when he looks out his window and claims to have seen a gigantic pyramid about 1,000 feet high, with a shimmering white jewel-like crystal as its capstone, which thus became known as the mythical Great White Pyramid. Just 2 years later, in 1947, Colonel Maurice Sheehan, a director of Transworld Airlines, reported the exact same structure while flying and even took a photo of it. That's 3 separate accounts of the same 1,000-foot pyramid, surrounded by hundreds of smaller ones. Today, almost all of these pyramids are completely covered in grass, and we still don't know what's inside them or even exactly how they were made. Most of them are pretty low, commonly referred to as mounds rather than Gizaland pyramids, featuring flat tops where other structures were thought to have been built on. And these mounds are confirmed by governments and archaeologists to be legitimate man-made structures, not natural formations. There are hundreds of these pyramid mounds in the region, yet they're almost entirely unexplored, at least to Westerners, as their government restricts study, excavation, and even visiting many of these structures to anyone but their inner circle.
So why do we think these pyramids aren't explored? Let's get past the black people invented pyramids, and let's get past the Hebrews, and let's get past all that part. Why do you think they don't want these things explored? Me personally, I believe if you were to explore those things, too much of the puzzle pieces that they tell us this, then is that, then is this, too many of them would start to connect, and then humanity would know what the true religion ultimately is. And I think that's the ultimate problem. That's the only thing that kind of makes sense to me. If there's all of this devil worship and there's all this pushing of things that God said not to do, and there's all this suppression of the things that God said to do, if we were to be able to study and explore for ourselves, I think we as a collective, humanity, us as humans, there would be some people who'd be like, nah, I don't agree, and they would go their way, and that's no problem. But there would be too many people who would say, okay, this is the correct religion. And then it would be on you as an individual to decide, am I strong enough to follow this, or do I just, you know what I'm saying? And I think the powers that be, they don't even want us to come to that free energy. They don't even want us to come to that conclusion. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can prove energy is free, there's a lot of other things. What do they say? The dominoes. Because it's like, if I can have free energy, why am I paying you for gas? I mean, money is a big stressor to a lot of people, especially to us men. If we don't have money, how can we protect our families? How can we protect our daughter? How can we protect our sons? How can we protect our wives, our companion, our helpmate? She's not a slave. She's a human, and she's valuable to us. Just like our sons and daughters are valuable to us. How can we protect them without money? Here's free energy. Now you can protect them. So you see what I'm saying? So I think a lot of, you know what I mean? The dominoes will start to fall, and that's the big problem. They want to keep up the house of cards.
1,000-foot Great White Pyramid, now commonly regarded as a myth, as no one has formally been able to study it up close. But attempts have been made. In the early 90s, German investigator Hartwig Hausdorff did search for it, but was unsuccessful. As he reported, Chinese military meticulously patrolling the exact region it was supposed to be in, which ended his expedition. Strangely too, local farmers are apparently encouraged to plant trees on the pyramids, almost like they're trying to cover them up. In the year 2000, China released a statement saying they've discovered about 400 pyramids in the Shaanxi province alone. Egypt has about 120 confirmed pyramids. Sudan, the official leader of pyramids by sheer numbers in the world, about 250. 400 is more than both of those combined, although many of them are officially considered mounds. Strangely too, while dozens of official news articles reported on this 400 number in 2000, recent reports have scaled that number down to about 40. And the pyramids here are once again lined up with the cardinal directions, northeast, southwest, a common trait among virtually every pyramid in the world. There's a grouping of pyramids whose positioning appears to be just slightly misaligned from the Gemini constellation, but computer analysis determined would be perfectly aligned during the spring equinox of 10,500 BC, suggesting that's when they may have been built. Others are aligned with the Orion constellation, just like the pyramids of Giza in Egypt and the Teotihuacan pyramids in Mexico. 3 different continents, thousands of kilometers apart, all using similar construction patterns, and also happen to be aligned in an almost perfectly straight line with each other on a global scale. Is this an indicator of shared ancient cultural knowledge among these civilizations that we're not aware of? Or perhaps even a singular source that built them all, both of which would be groundbreaking discoveries. And this isn't the first time this correlation was made. In 1785, Joseph de Guines, a French historian, wrote an essay in which we prove the Chinese are an Egyptian colony, bridging a
Wow, now that's deep. That this guy thought that the Chinese were an Egyptian colony. That's deep. I actually believe that Atlantis was on the continent of Africa. I'm gonna do a video on that too, but that would shake up a whole bunch of things, and not what people think. Not about the racial stuff. That's the part they want you to think about. The thing it would shake up is, for one, pardon me, Atlantis is real. So what's that Greek guy's name that was writing about Atlantis? You guys know who he is. I forget his name. Then it's like what he was saying was true, because on one hand, Western culture believes almost everything that Greek guy was saying, but just when it comes to that was a story that was fantasy, that wasn't. But everything else he said, they've kind of like put into Western culture. They built what is it? What's his name? Socrates or Plato. One of those guys. Plato it was. Everything the Greeks say, Americans take as truth. Except that it was one of them Greek dudes, but they take all of what they say as truth. You know what I'm saying? But we'll talk more about that in the member section. Let's keep with this.
Connection between the two cultures based on not only the presence of pyramids, but also similarities in cultural practices and writing styles. Remember, these are all just theories, but please kindly do share your opinions if you disagree. Maybe they were.
I honestly don't even think the people of Egypt made the pyramids. I do think it was these beings that a lot of us Christians call fallen angels. I don't think the devil was an angel. I think he just lied to people and said that. Because he's a capper. I think he was lying to kind of make it seem like he had higher status than he really had. I think they built the pyramids. They built all of this free energy because they're different creatures from us. And, they live in a different dimension from us. I'm not sure if Christianity explains it like that, but they live in a different dimension. Like, they can see us now. It's probably, demons in here staring at me now. You know what I mean? But that's who I think built the pyramids. I think they was here like thousands of years, maybe even millions of years before us. That's what I think.
Built as tombs, as history suggests, even though many of them lack historic records on their construction. And this doesn't even touch upon the Anlong Mountains further south, which they insist are just natural formations, and okay buddy. And the problem is, with their country's restrictions, we can't even go in and study the pyramids of Xi'an ourselves if we wanted to. So much of our world's history is guarded by the red tape of the governments whose countries these sites are found in. Everything we claim to know is simply just what they allow to be made public. If there ever was some previous advanced civilization that existed here tens, even hundreds of thousands of years ago that got wiped away by some worldwide cataclysm, do you really think those in charge would let that information go public and risk losing all their power in the worldwide panic that would follow? If it happened to them, who were allegedly more advanced than us, then what's stopping it from happening again to us?
Guys, I don't know how many times I have to say this to you, but you're sounding insane. There is no way for us to look back, maybe at the body language, maybe how many times someone hung out. Or the fact that Kelly is only 19 in this photo. It's not like Kelly was seen around many very young artists that we know are connected to some really dark things in Hollywood. It's not like Sharon herself has said some really questionable things on her MTV show, which just so happens to be the same network as Diddy and Ashton had shows. You guys are really reading into this too much. I'm telling you right now, stop comparing Paris Hilton to J-Lo, always lurking in the background. There is no way that all of these people are handlers. Are you guys okay? And it's definitely not like Naomi Campbell has deep ties with many, many, many leaders in the world, and that those things might be connected to other things. Cuckoo! This does not add up to this over and over and over and over again. Go to bed.
Michael Jackson had nearly $2 billion, owned 50% of Sony, while also owning the catalogs to artists like Eminem, the Beatles, and Elvis Presley. But I gotta tell you, sports fans, Sony didn't like this very much. More specifically, a man named Tommy Mottola. Long before the money, the fame, the controversies, Michael Jackson was born to a small home in Gary, Indiana, son to a very abusive father, Joe Jackson, while simultaneously responsible for the success of him and his siblings, the Jackson 5. And by the age of 11 years old, released the generational hit I Want You Back and took the world by storm. But Michael, being front and center, became the face of his family, and he knew that. So Michael started releasing music under his own alias until 1979. And Michael Jackson released the album Off the Wall, producing hits like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You. Right after the success of that album, he dropped an absolute flop called Thriller, the most successful album of all time, creating hits like Billie Jean, Beat It, and Thriller. And in 1984, Michael Jackson sealed himself as the king of pop, fully separating himself from the Jackson 5. And so now, with millions of dollars, he thought, instead of investing in property, why don't I invest in music? So in 1985, Michael Jackson had approached ATV Music Publishing and acquired the rights to most of the Beatles' hits. But lurking from the sidelines, a man named Tommy Mottola, the CEO of Sony Music Group, saw this venture and proposed a joint venture between him and Michael, making them both 50-50 partners, meaning whatever was Tommy's was also Michael's and vice versa. So now, besides being a global phenomenon, he continued to make smart financial business decisions throughout the years, acquiring music rights to artists like Elvis, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and Eminem, which is a wild story. And slowly throughout the years, Tommy watched all of these business moves happen. Slowly, Michael started creeping in on the business that was his. Tommy started controlling Michael through his artistic visions, his music taste, and his marketing and promotional. And holding 50-50 shares in a multi-billion-dollar business with somebody that you fear is not the greatest business model. This drove a deep divide between the two relationships, and in 2002, Michael Jackson expressed interest in selling his 50% share, estimated at over $1 billion. But suddenly, on April 13th of 2005, Michael Jackson would be arrested at Santa Barbara Airport for allegedly assaulting a 13-year-old boy, Gavin.
Now, let's just say this right fast. Because Chris Rock has a joke where he says, I wouldn't let people's talking about, oh, this is about babysitting. Oh, I don't like these people watching my kids. He said, I wouldn't let Michael Jackson watch my kids on TV. The feds never found anything. The federal government doesn't ever not find everything. This is the feds. When the feds come, they got all of the evidence. Period. And if they don't have the evidence, people still cop out because you're facing the full power of the U.S. government. They'll make you guilty. So there's very few people who haven't been convicted by the federal government. Very few people. Why would they not get this guy if he had did something? Why would they drop the case? They don't drop cases. The feds, they don't do that. Ask your local criminal. He'll tell you.
At his Neverland ranch. And on that same day, the FBI raided Michael Jackson's home, went through every paper, every drawer, every bed, and completely destroyed his home. And after a 10,000-page investigation and 10 years of court proceedings, Michael Jackson was acquitted on all counts, making him not guilty. But now Tommy...
Wait. They didn't drop the case. He was acquitted? The feds don't lose. So, yeah, they've got a 2%. 2% of all of the people they tried won. 2%. And Michael Jackson is a part of that 2%. How?
Got exactly what Tommy wanted. Michael Jackson was now innocent but completely broke. Not only broke, but completely destroyed his reputation, with the media even giving him the nickname Wacko Jacko. Michael couldn't handle it anymore, so in 2009 he announces This Is It Tour, a worldwide tour meant to be his farewell tour right before he sold his catalog and disappeared forever. But before the tour ever started, on June 25th of 2009, Michael Jackson died to a drug overdose, administered to him by a man named Conrad Murray. But instead of calling 911 as soon as he saw Michael's vitals start going down, he called a man by the name Fahim Muhammad, P. Diddy's bodyguard, a man in the industry you call when you're in trouble with the police and you need to clean it up. So after his death, the Jackson family went to go collect what was his fortune, until they found out that in 2002, a man Michael fired back in 2003, John Branca, for siphoning money from Michael Jackson's account to Tommy Mottola's Caribbean offshore account. The money was gone. The 50% he owned in Sony was gone, all owned by a man named John Branca, that was signed over by Michael Jackson on April 7th of 2003. Issue being that Michael Jackson wasn't there when the document was signed in LA. Instead, that day he was in New York. But that didn't matter. The signature was on the will, which is all the court needed to see. So John Branca allegedly pocketed the money and gave the $750 million percentile back to Tommy Mottola.
I just want to be a content creator. Like, that's all. I'm cute. Like, I can advertise y'all stuff. But, like, I just need some brand deals. Something. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Yeah, I can promote y'all stuff. Like, if the brand angels are seeing me, please reach out to me, message me, email me, because life is getting a little ghetto.
That's my mom putting gas because she got no man. Hey, get girl.
I'm single now, and I realize that I will never be completely happy as long as I'm providing for somebody. I'm sorry, but it irks me to come home after I've been working, you know, lonely and dumb chick. You know what I'm saying?
You could have been married in your 20s, but you had to be a lonely and dumb chick.
What is going on with these women in Hollywood, okay? First we got Shania Twain. Hello, Stepford Housewives, Invasion of Mars, whatever you want to call it. Acting very robotic, not even like herself. Then we have whoever this is, rumor has it, Kate Beckinsale, who didn't even remember where to go when appearing at the award show.
Wow, what a surprise. Welcome back. This way, up the stairs.
Where you going? And then I stumbled across this video of Nicole Kidman, which really freaked me out. What is going on?
Come in. Yeah, I'll take food right now. That's my daughter. Gotta be, well, let's just finish this up.
Going on in Hollywood?
First song. That's maybe his best song.
Yeah.
Like the handwritten lyrics, yes. Like when he first wrote.
Bernie's. Yeah.
Bernie's lyrics.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do you keep those?
People are telling me you see nothing strange. Watch how she's talking. She can't even move her face or something. Look at her mouth. Freaking weird.
You're going to be kept drugged a couple days while I play with your mind. By the time I get through brainwashing you, you're not going to remember a fucking thing about this little adventure. You won't remember this place, us, or what has happened to you. There won't be any DNA evidence because you'll be bathed and both holes between your legs will be thoroughly flushed out. You'll be dressed, sedated, and turned loose on some country road, bruised, sore all over, but nothing that won't heal up in a week or two. The thought of being brainwashed may not be appealing to you, but we've been doing it a long time, and it works. And
okay, man, dudes like this, they make just regular guys seem like all of us are like this. And we're not. So, I know, right? Kinked Up. Shout out to Kinked Up. My dude Captain Dabs. Micah. Card Imperial and Comics. Reverend Wolf. Shout out to y'all, man. Y'all are Gen Hex. Y'all are what keeps me doing this. Well, that and the haters. Haters are like some of my biggest, some of the biggest, but you guys are my biggest supporters. So we're going to get out of here. I'll probably chop this up, edit it, add some flavor to it, remix it, and put it up for everybody. I might even put it for the members. Come on in. Are you trying to come in here?
I'm telling you that your food is done.
You wanna bring it? Let me see.
It's
Goodness, look at this.
satay chicken.
Look at this, y'all. Can y'all see this? This is what I gotta look forward to.
Well, if you're not ready to try, you said you wanted to eat. So
I will. Go put it on the table in there. Let me sign off. All right, y'all. I'm going to start putting my member song at the end. But for now, we'll see y'all again.
Shala shala.
All right?